flow.
Welcome to episode 76 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. He's Lepore, I'm Bruno. Thank you so much for listening and watching us on YouTube as well. We are so close to the start of the NHL season. The Leafs open the season on October 12th against the Montreal Canadiens. We have watched some preseason hockey. There's been some things that have happened around the NHL. The Leafs, they are getting set for what I think, and I think Lepore thinks the same thing. It's going to be a very successful season.
Well,
we are going to talk about some sports betting stuff on this episode. We're going to look at the Leafs point total over under for this season. I'll let you know what that is set at. We are also going to talk about what we've seen so far in the preseason with this Leafs team. So I promise you want to stay tuned until the very end, because this one is going to be juicy. But before we get into all that, it is time to welcome in my partner in crime, Mr. Michael Lepore. How's it going, man?
It's going very well, Anthony Bruno. I'm happy to be back. I spent 5 days in the beautiful city that is Halifax, Nova Scotia. Comment down below, everyone, what you love about Halifax, because there were some great things. Even though because of the hurricane, my hotel didn't have power for 3 days. So a little negative spin, but I still made some positives out of it. Picked up some Moosehead swag, ate well, saw some friends, had a great time. Episode 76, Bruno. The streak continues, unfortunately. No player in the history of the Toronto Maple Leafs has ever donned the number 76. But a few weeks ago, there were those rumors about PK Subban. So maybe we were close, depending on who you asked, to adding that number to the history of the blue and white. But I guess we'll never know, and we'll keep waiting for someone to don those digits.
You know what, Lepore, with all the injuries on the Leafs defense core right now, PK Subban might get a phone call from Kyle Dubas.
Oh, there you go.
With the injuries piling up, PK, it's time to come out of retirement.
Let's do it, bud.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think PK is going to enjoy his retirement very, very much. I do not think he's going to sign with the Toronto Maple Leafs, but you never know. All right, Lepore, let's get right into this episode. Let's talk a little preseason. So we've seen the Leafs play 5 preseason games so far. They have gone an impressive 4-1, outscoring their opponents 20-9. Now, I will say, it's really not that impressive considering they've only played Ottawa and Montreal, and it's the preseason, but there have been some positive things. Number one, the goaltending. Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov have looked really solid. Murray has stopped 45 of 46 shots in 2 games, and Samsonov has stopped 43 of 46 shots. They have combined for a .957 save percentage in the preseason. The other positive, Nick Robertson, 7 points in 4 games. He is actually tied for the NHL scoring lead in the preseason. So some very positive things happening for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know it's only the preseason. Everyone's saying, Bruno, simmer down. This isn't a big deal, but Lepore, is there anything that we can take away from this so far?
Yeah, I'm going to throw out the hot take that'll be coming months from now. How will the Toronto Maple Leafs be able to afford Nick Robertson? Get ready for it, everyone.
Oh, God.
Make what you want of the preseason, because as you mentioned, it is in fact the preseason. It's essentially practice games, but I think it's fair for any fan base to watch their team play in the preseason and see if there's big positives or big negatives coming out of it. And I'd ask someone this, anyone telling us to simmer down about Matt Murray playing well, I would say, well, what would the reaction be if he was playing poorly? If he got lit up every time he was in, oh my God, there'd be total panic. So he's playing well, and we have reason to be, not to say excited is a strong word, but okay, we're feeling pretty good about it. If I remember correctly, you said he's allowed the 1 goal, and that 1 goal was on the power play. 5-on-5, he hasn't allowed a goal. I thought what I saw from Samsonov again, it wasn't even about him making incredible saves. He just looked calm in there, the puck hitting him, positionally strong, and that's awesome. Again, good signs. And if he's going to start as the backup, what more do you want? And as for Nick Robertson, I mean, Nick's on the team, right? Is there any debate there as to whether or
I'd
not
be
Nick?
stunned if this guy doesn't crack the opening
Yeah.
night roster at this point, because they desperately need him to take a leap this season, and that injection of offense would be huge for this team.
Yeah, no, he looks good. He looks confident. He shoots the puck, and boy, oh boy, can he shoot the puck. So exciting, man. Maybe fire him in there. And I'll ask you right away, like, and maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but to be honest, we're never being ahead of ourselves as Toronto Maple Leafs fans. Is his first chance going to be with Tavares and Nylander?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And you know what? It really is 50-50. Like, he could easily open the season in a bottom six role. I mean, hell, he could open the season with the Marlies. We don't know at this point, right? But I would put him with Tavares and Nylander right away. The way that he has played in the preseason, and it's not just his goal scoring ability, like, he has improved his all-around game. He looks like he's a different player. And again, I know it's only the preseason. You're playing against guys that aren't even going to be playing in the NHL this year. But what I've seen from Nick Robertson so far has been a pleasant surprise. And I think with the injury to John Tavares, I know, he's probably going to miss the first week of the season. He should be back, let's say, after the first 4 or 5 games. I think you immediately put Robertson on that second line. Whoever's playing there, it's obviously going to be Nylander and probably Kerfoot. And you see what the kid can do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm rooting for the kid too. Like, everything I've read about the kid is all positive. Apparently he's very upbeat. Apparently he's very enthusiastic. He works his ass off, they say, on and off the ice in the gym. Like, he's really committed to being a professional hockey player. I don't want to say like we've been disappointed so far, but the kid had really high expectations based on his 40-goal season in junior. And when you're drafted by the Leafs, that's what's going to happen. And I think a lot of people thought he would make the leap to the lineup full time a lot earlier. And especially, like, kind of weird to think now. I often forget that he was in the lineup in the bubble.
That's right.
Crazy. Yeah. Just very, very, very weird to think he did that. Then he had the time off or time away from the NHL. But now it looks like he's going to be an NHL player. And what's cool about all this, and I'll say it as a fan of Kyle Dubas, we're starting to see in the lineup the guys Dubas has drafted. Like, we're seeing Robertson, we're seeing Liljegren, we're seeing Sandin. So people are fair to judge Dubas however they want about the bodies he's brought in and the bodies he's let go. But this more to me is becoming his team. It does take some time after you become GM to actually fully put like your hands in the dough. And I think like we're getting there where these guys are full-time NHL players who he's drafted.
And I think another player that we probably would have seen by now if it wasn't for the health issues that he was dealing with, unfortunately, was Rodion Amirov.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Who was another high first-round pick, right? So, yeah, I mean, we're finally starting to see these young guys that Dubas drafted come into the lineup, and hopefully they can all take a leap. Not just Nick Robertson. Hopefully Liljegren can keep improving, and the same thing with Rasmus Sandin, who's finally back in the fold. So things are looking okay. Now, the Leafs are still dealing with injuries, Lepore, and it's going to be tough to deal with early on. Engvall is still out. Tavares is obviously still out. He's going to miss the first week of the season. Liljegren is out for 6 weeks. Adam Gaudette is dealing with an injury. So the depth guys on this lineup have got to step up. And one thing that Sheldon Keefe said to the media recently was that since he has been here as head coach, there hasn't been a competition like this for all these roster spots. And that's very interesting because year after year, we think about, all these guys, they have these career seasons and then they go off to the Edmonton Oilers or another team. Like, then Mikheyev goes off to the Canucks. The Leafs are losing all these players. But Keefe said this is the most competition he has seen since he's been here as head coach, which I thought was really interesting.
There you go.
All right, Lepore. Anything else from the preseason that caught your eye, or do you want to move on?
Just keep winning, guys. I kind of like it. I kind of like the response of, Leafs fans getting excited. Yeah, fuck it. We are excited. We like winning and we enjoy watching our team win, whether it's in the regular season or the preseason, right? So fuck it. I hope they run the table the rest of the way.
You said it, man, because if this team was 1-4,
Oh my
2-3 at this point, and Murray and Samsonov were letting in goals left, right, and center, social media would be going crazy.
Yeah. Did you see that thing on Murray, what the Leafs goaltending coach did with him, where he's practicing with swimming goggles?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he ran some practices with swimming goggles because you essentially don't have peripheral vision when you have the goggles on. So you're forced to use the center of your eye and the strongest part of your eye. Like, kind of cool and interesting to see like what they're doing now with stuff like that.
Love it. The goaltending has been a pleasant surprise so far. Again, it's only the preseason, but very positive when you see Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov combined for a .957 save percentage. I'm just going to say it right now, Lepore. The Leafs goaltending, it's going to be fine.
Oh,
it's going to be fine. Everyone just relax.
Preemptive
it can't
comment.
Possibly be as bad as it was last season.
Preemptive comment. This aged well.
27th in the league. This is like the 50th time I've said this. They finished 27th in the league in 5-on-5 save percentage last season. You can't get much worse than that. I promise you.
You're angry about it.
All right, Lepore. We got to move on now. It's time for a quick break to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Betstamp. If you're a sports bettor, you absolutely need Betstamp. You have to go to the App Store and download it immediately because it is so great for line shopping. Betstamp allows you to line shop for the most valuable odds on each wager and therefore maximize your potential profit as a bettor. So if you're betting on the Toronto Maple Leafs, you can't just go to one sportsbook. You got to look across the board and see who's offering you the most value, whether that's on the money line or the puck line. And Betstamp puts that all together and makes it so easy for you. And also the importance of having multiple sportsbooks. By having multiple sportsbook accounts, you're able to always access the best prices. And Betstamp, as I said, streamlines this process for all users. Lepore, I can't say enough about Betstamp. It's just the best.
Guys, at the end of the day, betting is hard. We're all losers. We all lose way more than we win, let's be honest. So because betting is so hard, why would we not take advantage of every opportunity we could to do our very, very best when it comes to winning? And that's exactly what Betstamp provides with its line shopping. Bruno went over it. They got the money lines, the spreads, all comparatively. It's awesome. Get on your phone, download the app, and take advantage.
And not only does Betstamp connect you with all the major sports books, it also allows you to link your account so that your wagers from all sports books automatically sync. And to get you started, go download the app and use our referral code GFP. That's right. Our referral code is GFP. I will have it linked down in the description. Betstamp is the way to go if you're a sports bettor and you actually want to make some money betting on sports. Welcome to Fresh Ball Fall. It's the season of pumpkin spice and making sure your crotch looks nice. That means sipping cider in a fall breeze and using MANSCAPED products to trim your balls with ease. MANSCAPED is here to make sure your foliage isn't the only thing shedding its excess leaves. Even Mother Nature knows it's time to lose the excess clutter for fall. So join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping using the code GFP20. Lepore, I say this all the time. These products are simply the best.
They are simply the best, Anthony Bruno. For those listening, Canadian Thanksgiving is approaching, and nobody likes anything more than a shiny, smooth, glistening turkey. So for that time of the year, why not celebrate? Bruno's already smiling. He knows what's coming with shiny, silky, smooth balls. Don't sell yourself short. Don't be a putz. Get Manscaped products and look your very best below the waistline.
Lepore said it. And for that, you're going to want the Lawnmower 4.0. They got the body wash and shampoo, the boxers, the hair and nose trimmer. My goodness. I mean, this company is just awesome. And I'm not just saying that because we're a Manscaped podcast. I mean, their products are so good and we use it all the time to look and feel our very best. So once again, go to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping using the promo code GFP20. That's manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping using the promo code GFP20. Let's talk some sports betting.
Yes.
We got to talk about the regular season point totals for all 7 Canadian teams. But of course, we are going to start with the Toronto Maple Leafs. All right. So I'm looking at Bet365. And right now, the Leafs regular season point total is set at 107.5 points.
Fuck me.
That is the second highest point total in the NHL, behind only the Colorado Avalanche. So that's where the books have it set. Now, you can look at other sports books as well. I'm sure it's slightly different across the board. But where I'm looking at Bet365, Leafs point total this season set at 107.5. They are coming off a franchise record 115-point season last year. It looks like the Panthers got slightly worse. The Lightning got worse. The Bruins are dealing with injuries. I know the teams at the bottom of the Atlantic are on the come up with Ottawa and Detroit, and Buffalo should be slightly better. But all things considered, Lepore, I think you got to hit the over on this at 107.5 for the Leafs, because I think that this team will be in play to win the President's Trophy this season. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts?
I feel the exact same way. And the way I've always approached these in the past, I'm sure I said it on the previous episodes, the times we've done this, is I look at the point total and I go up and down. And I think, okay, well, what's more likely and less likely? So, okay, we're 107.5. If someone said to you, one of two things are going to happen, the Leafs are going to finish with 117 points, 116, 117 points, or like 96, 97 points, which one would you bet on?
The higher end.
The higher. Like, I think it'd be a bigger shock if the Leafs didn't clip 100 points. So if I was betting, I take the over. And I'm with you. I think the way the team looks right now, and again, it's not going to matter in the summer when we're talking about this team, I think they're going to crush the regular season. Like, I really do think they have a chance at the President's Trophy. Like, I'm going to say it. You mentioned the goaltending earlier. I'm sure someone ran the numbers somewhere on what this team's point total would have been last year had they had average 5-on-5 goaltending. They finished with 115 points. So you put in that 5-on-5 goaltending up a notch. Well, what are they at, 120 points? So, like, I could see a number like that. I really can. And I know people may see that as a hot take, but 115 last year, why not? You mentioned certain teams getting weaker, and I'll throw in more pressure on them to finish first in the division. Like, they have to win the division, or I'm sure they really want to win the division. So I hammer the over hard. I'm with you, Bruno.
And Lepore, right now, the Leafs are second on the board behind the Avalanche to win the President's Trophy. I mean, it makes a lot of sense considering that their point total is second behind the Avalanche. They are plus 650 to win the President's Trophy this season.
That's not a bad bet.
Not bad at all. Get 6.5 times your money. Now, comparing that to the Leafs' odds of winning the Stanley Cup, they're 8-1 to win the Cup. I'd probably stay away from that. But to win the President's Trophy at plus 650, I think that's totally in play for this Leafs team. You can make fun of them all you want about their lack of success in the playoffs. They can't win a round, but this team is a juggernaut in the regular season.
Yeah.
Specifically under Sheldon Keefe. This team has been so good under Sheldon Keefe. I don't think he gets enough credit, honestly, for what he's done with this team. So I'm right there with you. I said it once, I'll say it again. I am definitely going to hammer the over of 107.5 points for this Toronto Maple Leafs team. And you know, I kind of already went over it. You look at the Atlantic Division, the teams around the Leafs are weaker this season. And I don't really think, like, you know, I look at the Metropolitan Division. The team that I think is really good is Carolina. And then you look at Washington, like, they're probably going to take a little bit of a step back. The Penguins, I think, are good, but I'm not really too scared of anyone. Oh, the Rangers. I like the Rangers as well.
Yes, the Rangers, bro.
They're a really solid team.
Yeah, but they're everyone's quiet pick to win the Cup, actually.
Yeah, the Rangers are a nice team. I like their roster. But honestly, right now, I think the Leafs are right up there, man. Like, I think they are totally in play to win the President's Trophy this season.
But like that, you made the point earlier, though, about them, your thoughts on their Stanley Cup odds at 8-1. I mean, to me, that's sort of fair. Like, I'm not saying, like, bet the house, but let's say it was like 10-1 or 11-1. I'd be like, yeah, lay that bet. And again, not because it's the Leafs, because it's the team coming off a 115-point season. So I think that's fair. I think 8-1 is a fair number. I was going to ask, so Colorado, being the leader, what was their over under total?
Theirs is, let me double check this here. They're number 1 in the league, and it is set at 111.5.
Yeah. See, I think
4 points higher than the Leafs.
It's almost about like team personality. Like, I think I may go under there just because they don't give a shit now. You know what I mean? It's just, they'll cruise through, lock up their spot. They don't care if they start on the road. So I may go under there. 111. That's all. I mean, that's a lot for an over under. But yeah, it's fun. This stuff's fun, man.
Yeah, and there's always recency bias, especially with teams that just won the Stanley Cup or just got to the Stanley Cup final. Like, obviously, Colorado's going to be a really good team this season, but I agree with you, man. Like, what incentive does that team have to win the President's Trophy?
Exactly.
Like, why would they care?
Yeah, 100%.
Right? You could say the same thing for the Leafs. Like, why do they care? Well, because the Leafs haven't accomplished anything. And I think that's something to strive for, is to be the best team in the regular season, lock up home ice. So I think the Leafs, there's more of a motivation for them to win the President's Trophy than there is for the Colorado Avalanche. Even though the Avalanche they appear right now to be a better team than the Leafs, but we'll see. Yeah.
And when they do win it, we're going to have like a parade. We're going to raise a banner, all that after the first round exit.
They're going to win the President's Trophy. They're going to raise the banner game 1 of the playoffs. And then the Leafs are going to lose in game 7 in the first round.
Oh, that's not bad. I was going to say getting like swept by the Senators or something.
No, it's going to go 7 games. It's going the distance, and they're going to lose to whoever that second wild card team is. Oh God, can you imagine? It's the Senators, and they lose in 7 to Ottawa in the first round.
Blast me into space. I won't be able to
blast
hang out in
us
Ottawa.
all into space at that point. My goodness.
Yeah.
All right, Lepore. Let's keep moving down the list here.
Sure.
Talk about some of these other teams. So, second, we have a tie for the next highest point total among Canadian teams. Both the Edmonton Oilers and Calgary Flames, their point totals are set at 102.5 this season.
Oh.
Which team are you more confident in hitting the over there, Lepore?
Kind of cool how Battle of Alberta, they put both teams exactly at the same point. But the first one that popped in my head was Edmonton, if I'm being honest, simply because I think they're gonna have a great regular season. Kind of like the Leafs. They're just gonna use their speed and skill and over 82 games be successful. But even Calgary, I would still go over on Calgary at that number, because again, like, what do I see more likely? If the Flames didn't get 100 points, I'd be shocked with that lineup. And like I said, I would go the over, but if I had to bet one of the two, I'd bet the Oilers. And I don't know why. I do know why. It's because he's the best player in the world. I think McDavid's going to go bananas this year, especially the start. I think he's going to come out guns a-blazing and be playing pissed off, not too happy about how their season ended last year. So coming off a conference final appearance, there's a lot of pressure on the Oilers to keep it going. They think they've improved their goaltending. Guys like McDavid and Draisaitl are 1 year older, 1 year more mature. So, like I said, I'd pick both teams over, but if I had to pick one, I'd pick Edmonton. What do you think, Bruno?
I think both teams are going to hit the over on this 102.5 line. And I'm just looking at last season. So the Flames finished with 111 points. The Oilers finished with 104. And when you look at the Pacific Division, honestly, it's still not very good. The Kraken, the Ducks, and the Sharks are still not good. Vancouver, you would think, is going to be better. So maybe that takes some points away. The Kings, they finished with 99 points last season. I think the Kings are a good team as well. I don't think they've taken like a massive leap. I know they picked up Kevin Fiala, which was a huge move for them. But I don't see them, taking away too many points from Calgary and Edmonton. And then you have Vegas that has goaltending issues right now and honestly is still kind of overrated. So I think both the Flames and the Oilers should get over 102.5 points. I agree with you though, Lepore. I would probably lean more towards the Oilers. I think that the Flames, and I think this will play out throughout the course of the year, even though it didn't this past season, I think they are going to be better built for the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even though they lost in 5 games and looked awful against Edmonton in the playoffs this past season, I do think that team is better built for the playoffs. I think they have better goaltending. They have a better defense core. I love how they brought in Huberdeau and Kadri. I know they lost Gaudreau and Tkachuk, and you could say, they were better with Tkachuk and Gaudreau. But I think this is going to be a really good team. But I do agree with you. I think that McDavid is going to have an insane season. Same thing with Draisaitl. I think these guys are both going to be 1-2 in scoring. And I think they're going to fly through the regular season. And they're probably going to have 105 to 110 points. And then we'll see what they got come playoff time. I don't know how Jack Campbell is going to perform this season. That could maybe affect their point total, but they also have Stuart Skinner there, who I think is a capable goaltender. So I think both these teams are going to hit over 102.5 points, Lepore. Yeah.
Just going through the Pacific, and ironic, we're talking about betting and it's Vegas, but is there a team you'd stay away from more than the Knights? Like, that team could be trash and I wouldn't be surprised. That team could win the division. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I remember last season, I called them the most overrated team in the NHL heading into the season.
Love the humble brags, hey, Bruno.
And they
remember when I was right.
Yeah, I always let you know when I'm right. When I'm wrong, I kind of keep that. I'm not going to let you know everything, but I'll let you know when I'm right all the time. And I said that the Vegas Golden Knights were the most overrated team in the NHL. Listen, I know they were dealing with injuries last year. So maybe if they were fully healthy, they probably would have made the playoffs. But just looking at their roster, and listen, I've always been a Jack Eichel guy. I think he's a phenomenal player when he's fully healthy, but I still don't love this roster. It's a good roster, and honestly, they should make the playoffs, but I'm kind of staying away from them, man. I think Calgary and Edmonton are better than Vegas. Simple as that.
Yeah, that'd be a hot take to say they're better than those two teams at this point.
All right, Lepore, you want to move on to the next Canadian team and find out who it is here?
Big time.
All right, so we had the Leafs at number 1. And again, these are just betting lines, everybody. This is not the gospel here, but it should be a good guideline to show you what the books think about all of these teams. That's the point of this exercise essentially right now, is we're looking at what the sports books think about all these teams. And again, they're not always 100% right, but the algorithms and the models that these sports books use to set these lines are pretty damn accurate.
Yeah.
And these sports books are pretty damn smart. So it just, gives you a glimpse into what Vegas and what the analytics think of all of these teams. So going down the list here, Lepore, first, obviously, we had the Leafs, then the Oilers and Flames. Next is the Vancouver Canucks.
Really? Okay. That shocks me. I thought you were going to say someone else, but okay. Let's go.
Their point total right now set at 92.5.
Ooh.
They are coming off, I believe, a 92-point season. Yes, they're coming off a 92-point season, missing the playoffs. Their point total this season set at 92.5. What do you think?
That's exactly where I would put them. Oof, that's hard. That's definitely the hardest one so far. I hate to do it again, but I think I'd go over again. I don't know. Again, I don't see them being in the 80s. Like that's how I see it, a 500 team. I think they've gotten better. They showed last year they can score. I don't know. I think maybe Vancouver's getting their mojo a bit there. I'd go the over. What do you think?
I kind of like Vancouver too. And I know it's how could all these teams hit their over? But this is a good team, honestly, on paper. I'll say on paper at least. And the issue with this team last year is that there was so much inconsistency, especially with Elias Pettersson. The first half of the season, he was terrible. The second half of the season, he was great. This team has Thatcher Demko. He's probably one of the 8 best goalies in the league. Easily one of the top 10 goalies in the league. They got JT Miller still, who had coming off a career season. Quinn Hughes on the back end. They got good players, man. Bo Horvat, Brock Besser. On paper, this team's good. This team should hit the over. And again, in a Pacific Division that isn't that good still. So I'm with you, Lepore. I don't know if this team's going to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to hit over 92.5 points. Whether it's 93, 94, 95, I think they're somewhere in that range, but I think they're just going to hit the over this season on that point total.
Yeah, I think I'm going to make my first kind of statement of the season. I think Quinn Hughes is going to have a monster year. Maybe Norris Trophy finalist.
Ooh, I really like that.
I really like that kid. And I think this is going to be like kind of an explosion for him. I really do.
Nice. And of course, they've picked up Ilya Mikheyev, former Leaf, who, after we said it wasn't a great signing, he's probably going to score 35 goals and have the greatest season of his career.
I was going to say 30, but you're even higher than that. Nice one, Bruno. Why stop
there?
So
help me God. Yeah. He comes out here and puts up 30 to 35 goals, Lepore. I'm just going to, God. I mean, I don't think he will. I honestly don't think he's going to hit 30 goals, but it's in the range of possibilities.
Of course it is.
So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, so the Canucks, 92.5 points. We'll keep moving down the list here, Lepore. Coming up next, another team that is still pretty good on paper, especially on forward. It's the Winnipeg Jets. Okay. Their point total set at 88.5. Last season, the Jets finished with 89 points. So again, the books kind of are viewing it sort of very similar to last season. Again, this is a team that didn't really make any big splashes in the offseason, except getting Rick Bowness to come in as head coach. So what are your thoughts on the Jets, 88.5?
I'm going to do it, Bruno. I'm going to go under on the Jets. I think this is going to be sort of the breaking point in Winnipeg. I don't have confidence in Rick Bowness there. I think the whole thing with Wheeler was an absolute embarrassment with him losing the C. I don't see them being a happy bunch. And as I often say, when teams go to the rink unhappy, they're not going to be successful. So I'm kind of picturing this year for Winnipeg as being one of those where a team kind of looks in the mirror and says, we have to move on. Like, I think guys are going to be traded. They're maybe even at a certain point in the season, we're just going to tank this, see how it goes. So, yeah, I'm not expecting a lot from Winnipeg this year. And like you said, like, they have guys. Like, I like their team. Like, we've said a million times on the show how much we like Ehlers and other guys. Scheifele's exciting. But, yeah, I'm not seeing it. Or I should say I'm not optimistic about Winnipeg this year. How do you feel about the Jets, Bruno?
Unfortunately, Lepore, I am right there with you with this hockey team. And I know it sucks when me and Lepore agree on everything, but I mean, I think this is also going to be a breaking point for the Jets. Just go over all the points that you mentioned. They stripped Wheeler of the captaincy. It seems like guys are unhappy there. I feel like we're going to hear about some trade requests. Pierre-Luc Dubois, it seems like he wants to go play for the Montreal Canadiens. It just seems like a shit show, honestly, over there. I don't know how this team is going to play under Rick Bowness. I don't know if this team even likes Rick Bowness. Like, there's a possibility that this team could be a disaster.
Yeah.
Despite all the talent. Like, Kyle Connor Lepore, he's coming off a 47-goal season. He scored 47 goals last year. Like, this team should be good. This team should be a playoff team. Maybe they're going to make the playoffs and prove us wrong, but
I hope they do. I mean, I guess
I hope
like
so
team.
too.
I
honestly,
hope they do.
I just think there's so much. God, there's just been so much negativity around this team. Right. Maybe they overcome it, but honestly, I don't think they do. I'm with you as well. I have the under on the Winnipeg Jets, under 88.5 points.
Underrated storyline too is like how Hellebuck, like 2-3 years ago, people were calling him the best goalie in the league, and he has not been good the last year or two. So another reason to, I guess, not believe in them.
Yeah, Hellebuck has got to get back to being the Vezina guy that he was. And if you look at his advanced numbers, they're solid. Like, they've been good, but yeah, like, he's still, like, last year, he was not in the conversation with Igor Shesterkin, Vasilevsky, UC Saros, Freddie Anderson. Like, that's where we expect Hellebuck to be.
Was the save percentage not below 900 last year? Like, it was not. I remember it was bad, or at least some point during the season, I believe it was below 900, and people were like flipping out at that number.
So he finished the year, Lepore, with a 910 save percentage and a 297 goals against.
Okay, so it must have been during a certain point in the season, and he turned on a bit at the end.
But you said it, man. The year before that, 916 save percentage. Year before that, 922 save percentage.
Yeah, there you go.
And he won the Vezina in 2019-2020 when he had
think of what you just said, man. Like, think about the Jets, okay? You have a Vezina Trophy winning goalie, okay? You have a 47 goal scorer in Connor. You have Ehlers, who does everything right and everybody loves. You've Scheifele, one of the most offensively dynamic players in the league. I think would be probably a slam dunk for Team Canada. And here we are saying this team isn't going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's insane.
Funny how sports works.
It's so insane.
Cheering for the Jets, though, man. Come on, Winnipeg.
Yeah, I mean, Jets. It's awesome. The whiteout in Winnipeg, when that team gets rolling, when they're in the playoffs, it's honestly a sight to behold. So I hope, honestly, I hope they prove us wrong. But based on everything that's happened in the offseason, it just does not look good in Winnipeg. It just does not look good. All right, Lepore. We're moving on now. You notice that there's a team that we have not mentioned yet. A team that people seem to be high on. They're all excited about. That would be Michael Lepore's hometown, Ottawa Senators.
Bam, bam, ba-da-bam, ba. For those who don't know, that's the Senators theme song when they skate out.
The team that on a couple episodes ago, I called the most overrated team in the NHL. Now, based on the books, this team is not expected to make the playoffs. Their point total for this season is set at 86.5. So they're not expected to make the playoffs. But the reason, just because you're not a cup contender doesn't mean you can't be overrated. Like, I still think this team is not very good, despite getting Claude Giroux and Alex DeBrincat. I know they're going to be good offensively, but Lepore, I'm kind of leaning towards the under here on this point total of 86.5.
Okay.
I'm leaning to the under. They just lost Cam Talbot, who's out for 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Anton Forsberg. Okay, let's talk about Anton Forsberg for a second.
You're fired up about the Sens this year, eh, Bruno? I love it.
Very fired up.
You're coming to Ottawa for a 30. Game. We need this.
He's turning 30 years old, Lepore. He has a .909 career save percentage. When did Forsberg suddenly become like this slam dunk, like good NHL goalie?
Well, he went through waivers, like said, didn't he like break the record for waivers or something, and then he took a spot in Ottawa and he did really well, and he got his contract. It's a good story.
People are so confident. You said it, man. He went through all the whole waiver situation. Like, why does everyone seem so confident in Forsberg? Like, why do you think they brought in Cam Talbot, who's now injured for 7 weeks?
Fair enough.
Forsberg, .909 save percentage in over 100 games in the NHL. Like, this is not someone that you could bank on, quite honestly. Again, turning 30 years old. So I'm worried about their goaltending. Their defense core still isn't good. I know Sanderson's going to play this year, but do you really think Sanderson is going to make an immediate impact? Like, do you really think this guy's on the level of Cale Makar or even Moritz Seider from Detroit?
Bro, it's like the opposite. Like, I'm just repeating here. This is not my opinion because I've been watching too much of the Senators in the preseason. Senators Twitter the other day was all over Sanderson, saying he is getting walked every time he's on the ice. And I heard one person even say that like he was Ottawa's worst player, and it was clear that he was in over his head. But Brandstrom looked really good the other night. Like, he was flying. And I always root for Brandstrom. Like, little story, he's from the small town in Sweden that my wife's from, and he played for like that local hockey club. So I always kind of root for Brandstrom. But as far as the Sens go, what's the number again? 88.5?
86.5.
Oh, 86.5. Well, based on what I said, based on my guess of 88.5, I think I have to go a certain way. I will go over on the Sens at that number. Not too much over, but I've always argued against the point in hockey that people say, oh, you can't outscore your problems. Yes, you can. You can. If you score a lot of goals, you will win games. And if you look at this lineup and how their forwards project, this team's going to score a lot of goals. I don't think, if I had to bet if they're going to make the playoffs, I'd probably still say no, but I still think they are going to make a leap to like the high 80s, like low 90s in terms of points. And again, just like the talent on the roster, like if we're really going down to it, another way I kind of look at these things is, okay, you have Stützle, Norris, Tkachuk, DeBrincat, Giroux, Batherson. Shane Pinto looks good in preseason. It's a deep forward group. Just based on the names I said, are they going to go 500? That's how I kind of see. I'm like, no, they're going to go over 500.
Yeah, they'll be over 500.
They're going to take more points than they lose. So I would go over on Ottawa because I think they're going to score goals, and I'm a new school guy. I'm all about 100% offense and lighting it up. So I do think Ottawa makes the leap this year, and it's great that we have a disagreement. And I'm picturing them again, like in the high 80s, low 90s. And I'll say this even too, like, again, from a betting perspective, like, would we be shocked if Ottawa was like in the mid 90s? Like, I'm not saying like bet on it,
but no, I don't think we'd be shocked.
Exactly. So, but then again, if we go back the other way and say like they're like a bad team, I think most people would be shocked if Ottawa was a bad team. So again, like another reason for me to go the over on the Sens.
That's fair. I just think this team isn't going to take as big of a leap as a lot of people seem to think it will. And again, I go back to the goaltending. The defense core is not good. And sure, they're probably going to be able to outscore their problems. But guess who else can outscore their problems in the Atlantic Division? The Toronto Maple Leafs, the Florida Panthers, and the Tampa Bay Lightning to a certain extent. They're maybe not as high octane offensively as the other teams. They're arguably the best team in the Atlantic Division. And then even the Boston Bruins, once they get fully healthy. So I just think it's going to be tough. And I've talked about this on a previous show. There's too many teams in the Atlantic Division that I think are still better than the Ottawa Senators. And who knows about Detroit this season? Detroit's got a sneaky, decent team as well. I mean, they could even finish. Man. What's that?
Even Buffalo. I don't think Buffalo's going to be bad. I don't know. There's something in me like Buffalo's going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, and just to look at their point total. So the Red Wings.
I was going to ask Sens, Red Wings, and Sabres, like what they are.
Well, so Sens are at 86.5. The Red Wings, 84.5.
Okay.
And the Sabres at 78.5. So Vegas clearly thinks that the Red Wings and the Senators are pretty close to each other.
If you think about that, man, again, that means Vegas's perspective is think of the teams at the top: Toronto, Florida, Tampa, Boston. Then even going to the bottom, you said Buffalo was 78.5 and they were the lowest.
No, that's not the lowest in the Atlantic. We still got to get to that.
Okay. Who's the lowest? All right. We'll get to
that's coming up next with our next Canadian team.
Okay. You said it. Oh, that's right. I forgot about them. Anyways, I was going to say the point of like, well, if you look at it, I mean, that's a lot of good teams. Like for the second last place team in the division to be in the high 70s, that's pretty respectful. And then again, say what you want about how that's going to affect these teams' totals because of who they're playing against every night.
Yeah. So at this point, I just think it's going to be tough for the Senators. Again, they might hit 87, 88 points, but I think it's more likely that we see them between, let's say, 83 and 85, something in that range, because I just don't think they're quite good enough yet. Who knows? I might look like a total idiot 5-6 months from now, but I think I'm going to be right on this one. All right, Lepore. Let's move on to the final Canadian team that I just alluded to. It is the Montreal Canadiens. They are clearly rebuilding right now. They just had the first overall pick in the draft, taking Juraj Slafkovsky, who hasn't looked very good in the preseason. Kent Hughes did not have great things to say about Juraj Slafkovsky. Their point total, Lepore, said it's 72.5. It isn't the lowest point total in the NHL, but it is the second lowest point total in the National Hockey League. The only team that Vegas projects to be worse is the Arizona Coyotes. Exactly.
Poor Arizona.
So what do you think about this Habs team, man? Are we smashing the under? Are they going to surprise and, get 80 points or something this season? What do you think?
Yeah. Back-to-back teams, back-to-back rivals of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I will say the Habs go under on that. And part of me thinks, I think that management group knows what they're doing and they know what they have. And you could very well see more tearing down and, let's say it, tanking. If there's a year to tank, it's a year with Connor Bedard being available. And nothing would inject more excitement into that franchise in Connor Bedard. And to be fair, it's a good draft. They're saying across the board it's a good draft, especially in the first round. So that's why I'd, for the most part, go with Montreal, because sounds kind of lame, but at the end of the day, I don't think they're really trying to win.
I agree. I'm smashing the under on this team as well. And because I think they're going to be really smart. Like, I don't think Juraj Slafkovsky is going to crack the opening night roster.
Oh, okay.
I think we're going to see this guy in Laval. This is just based on some of the quotes that I've seen from Kent Hughes. Like, it just does not look optimistic right now that he's going to be in that opening night roster.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you go through the Habs, like, they're actually, like, when you look at them on paper, like, they're actually decent. Like, they're not terrible, but they're just lacking that high-end talent. And who knows, maybe Cole Caulfield can have a big season. Same with Nick Suzuki. Maybe they can elevate that team higher than a lot of people think. that team is capable of playing at. So saying all that, I still just, I think this team is going to be tanking for Connor Bedard. This is a once in a lifetime player. And again, you can't just be terrible and put all your eggs in one basket and hope that you get the first overall pick, because obviously you still at best only have like a 1 in 5 chance of getting the first overall pick. But man, if this Habs team can add Connor Bedard, that would be unbelievable. Like just unbelievable. Like he is a franchise altering talent. We're talking Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, Nathan McKinnon. Like this dude is the real deal. So I'm smashing the Habs under 72.5. I think they're going to be bad, and I think they're going to be in play for Bedard, as you said.
Fuck, imagine they get Bedard. That would suck. Let's be honest. As Leafs
that would be awful.
It is fun, man. As much as teams, like the lottery is a blast, because as much as you have fan bases really hoping they get that Connor McDavid, I'll put on the flip side, the McDavid lottery, okay, him sitting there, all that shit. How many people were watching just praying to God the Leafs weren't going to get everybody. So it's a fucking blast. I will be, if I think this season goes the way it's going to go for the Montreal Canadiens, or if the season goes the way I think it's going to go for the Montreal Canadiens, and they're fully in play with like a 20% chance at Bedard, I'll be watching that lottery on my knees with my hands together, praying that he gets won by Arizona. Sorry, Connor, but I'm really hoping you don't end up in our division with historically our biggest rival.
But you're not alone, Lepore. Yeah, I think every Leaf fan is right there with you, man. Yeah. I don't think anyone wants to see Connor Bedard go to the Habs. Now, I actually think it would be really great for hockey.
Of course,
if Connor Bedard went to the Montreal Canadiens. Like, that would be pretty awesome, honestly. But for Leaf fans and for the sake of the Leafs or the rest of the Atlantic Division is going to be nuts if the Habs get Connor Bedard. Because then you have the Senators, who are obviously still on the come up, the Red Wings, who are getting better, and then imagine the Habs get Bedard. My God.
People forgetting too. I mean, like Dahlin had an incredible season last year, and you expect his growth to continue. And Owen Power is going to be in the lineup this year. So who knows what that kid's going to bring. Excitement all over the Atlantic. So Connor Bedard, stay away, because we don't want that much excitement. We want easy peasy.
Yeah, just go somewhere else, somewhere outside of the Atlantic Division.
California. I won't even send you to Arizona. I'll send you to California.
Us Leaf fans don't need that extra headache.
Yeah, the Sharks, perfect.
Oh, great landing spot. Oh, somewhere in California. Great landing spot.
You can cheer for the 49ers and the Warriors. It's great there, sunshine.
There you go. Good luck, Connor Bedard. I hope it all works out for you, man.
Yeah.
All right, Lepore, is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we wrap up this podcast?
No, but I always like when we do these shows, man, talk about these teams where we guess they're going to go, because, I mean, people can have opinions on however they think a season's going to go for a certain team or for a certain player. But at the end of the day, it is just opinion. And I mean, you can talk about goal totals, assist totals, point totals, but talking about these bets, it's a hard line. So I find it's fun, right? Because there's so many things that can happen. Like I said, they put out a point total and that team could purposely lose. So there's different ways to look at it, different ways to analyze it. And you get takes of people thinking Vegas is completely off their fucking rocker. And you get takes of people who think Vegas is bang on. So I don't know. I always have a good time when we do these.
Yeah, I love doing these shows because, like you said, right, it's all opinion. I mean, the line is an opinion. That's a line set by these Vegas sports books. It's telling you exactly what they think of these teams. But it's like you said, Lepore, you could have your own opinion on all these teams. You could think that the lines are way off. That's the beauty of this whole thing, right?
100%.
And that's why I would love you guys listening and watching us to go down into the comment section on YouTube and let us know what you think about these point totals. Like, are the Leafs going to hit over 107.5 points? Are the Sens going to hit over 86.5? Oilers and Flames both set at 102.5. Are they both going to hit the over? Is one of them going to hit the under? Would love to know what you guys think of where these lines are set.
The other exciting thing is you can dissect a team and say, well, is that team going to add? Do you expect that team to add? So the team you're betting on now is not really the actual team, right? So it's fun again.
Exactly, right? Kind of like the Oilers did last year, adding Evander Kane. Because guess what? If Evander Kane didn't come into the fold last year, I don't think the Oilers finished with 104 points.
Yeah, and when the Leafs get Patrick Kane, what's the over under there? Like 140?
There you go, man. Once Patrick Kane gets dealt at the trade deadline, because we know it's coming, that team, whoever he goes to, my goodness.
Yeah, that's a jump. That's a jump for sure. What a player.
Yeah, exactly like you said, Lepore. As soon as he gets traded to the Leafs, there'll be a lock for 107.5 points on the over. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to number 88 donning the blue and white. Going to be great. All right. That is going to do it for episode 76 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. Once again, if you're a new listener or if you've been listening for a while and you really enjoy the show, please give us a 5-star rating and review on both Apple and Spotify. And if you're watching us on YouTube and you really enjoyed this episode, the least you can do is smash that like button.
Come on.
You could also subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and ring the notification bell so you know exactly when the GFP podcast is posting some new content. So for Michael Lepore, I'm Anthony Bruno, and we will see you in the next one.
Thanks for listening, everyone.